actually care, really. But hello, all.
How you doing?
Hello.
Good.
I know Coach had mentioned that really points-wise, you guys did a pretty good job against Oklahoma State. How do you evaluate just overall what you guys did?
You watch it and you say you don't ever like to give up explosives. I think that's the thing that causes points in any game, in any league, in any football game. So it's one of those deals that you look at those things and you say, geez, we gave up way too many explosives, way too many big plays, and some of it is a combination of a lot of different things. We were trying to cheat on things, and some of those things, you gamble whenever you play a team like that. They got two really good weapons there, and you're saying, okay, we're going to gamble on covering one dude, and then if it hits you, then it goes for big, and you're like, damn, So it was a combination of things, and we always like to shut everybody down to zero, and no yards passing, and get sacks and stuff like that. But I don't think that's realistic, and I'm sure he talked about red zone and stuff like that, but you don't want to give up explosives ever, because that just leads to points. Whether it's field goals or touchdowns, it doesn't matter. It's points.
You could maybe argue Baylor doesn't have one guy as explosive as either Chuba or Tylen Wallace, but a bunch of guys who are pretty explosive.
Yeah,
How different are they?
They're a solid team all around. You look at them, and there's not a lot of chinks in their armor. Let's say, it's a deal where you say, okay, do you need to cheat on a guy as much? No, I think Mims is a really good player. I think he's a guy that can go up and get the ball and gives you some concern. But they have three backs that kind of play like our three backs do, and guys that can run the ball and they protect well, and their offensive line protects really well. And they got a quarterback who's a smart guy who knows where to go with the ball. So I think it's not as, I think you're looking at two different animals. You're looking at a experienced quarterback who understands where to go, and he's not going to just throw the ball to one guy. He's going to try to take what the defense gives him, and then you gotta, whereas opposed to last week it was a deal where they're going to throw it to that cat, and everyone in the stadium knows it, and can you cover him?
Right.
That's kind of the difference.
Obviously, Charlie Brewer is just a little bit different in terms of his skill set with Spencer Sanders, but he is still a little bit younger of a quarterback. Doesn't have as much experience in this conference. Do you feel like you can rattle him a little bit?
You always hope to get to every quarterback and rattle him. That's kind of the goal of when you do pressure. You try to pick and choose those times where you can say, hey, here's a chance, we get a chance to blitz them on a down that they're not expecting it, on a first or second, and you try to get a hit on a guy, or third down, that's kind of what we do. We try to show blitz on almost every third down, and then if we blitz or not, it is what it is. They got to figure that out. You'd like to keep him guessing some, but he's a cat that understands things. You watch him play some teams, and he's in there, and I just got done staying up late last night watching all his 2-minute drives, and he's pretty good there too. Yes, you want to hit him. Yes, you want to cause panic in every quarterback I think you play. I think that he's a guy it's a different style of quarterback. He's not gonna, though he scrambles at times, but he'll scramble and get 4 yards when he needs 3. That's the kind of, he's a headsy player like that. He's not going to scramble and get 80 on you, hope. But he's a guy that can run, and he knows what he needs to get, and he knows what he needs to do to get there. So he's a good player. He's a pretty headsy kid.
How much that fourth quarter, the performance that Iowa State's defense put on, how much are you taking away from that, and kind of being like knowing what worked really well to shut Baylor down?
It's hard to compare, some of those, just because there's so many teams in the leagues that are 3 down, so it's hard sometimes to. You can take that into account, but they might attack you completely different than they were attacking that. Offenses do what they do against certain looks, and so it's hard to tell, hey, against a 4-down team that plays different coverages, what are we going to see? So a little bit, during the week, if we were, Texas and Iowa State and, those teams that run the exact same that'd be great. It's great to see what you're going to get, but sometimes it's a little bit of a guessing game, how they're going to attack you, because I think offenses do attack things differently.
You talk about explosive plays, Scotty. When it comes to just drives, K-State's one of the best in the country, holding opponents. Only 16% of the time do opponents even reach the red zone against K-State. And then once
That's
they get
sweet.
there, only half of the time do they get the ball into the end zone. What's been made that so strong for you guys?
I think that's the kind of style of defense we'd like to play. We would like to say, hey, we're going to play some soft coverages. We're going to, if you, at some point along the time, we're going to make a play, whether it's, a guy winning a one-on-one or a defense that, is good to an offense that they call, when you're gambling on things. At somewhere along the time, you hope that you're going to win. And that's the whole point of what we do, is to say, listen, if a team has to go, like the hard one for me was if a team goes the Mississippi State drive where we got a pick and then we fumbled it and then they went like 12 plays. Mm-hmm. If a team does that, I'll say, hey, good for you. I mean, that's something that doesn't happen a lot in any football anywhere, that a team can put together a drive that's a long drive and drive on. It's really about explosives. And you can see, just like last week, when we do give up explosives, well, the points go up. I mean, it's a natural thing. And that's the thing that you always try to do. The more you gamble, or the more I know people love blitzing. If you blitz, it's someone's band's playing. It's one way or the other. You're going to give up an explosive, or you're making a big play. Is it worth it? Or the more you decide to, hey, we're really going to play this defense to take away this guy, well, then this guy could hurt you, and you have to be able to say, hey, we have to live with that. But it's a style of defense we'd like to play. It's a style of defense where we'd like to be able to say, hey, we don't have to help anybody at any time, and we can just line up and everything's even and every X is the same as their O, and that would be great to be able to play that way. But sometimes you can't do that. You gotta gamble a little bit. Whether it's, hey, we're gonna help this guy and take someone out of the run fit. Now all of a sudden you got a guy running for 10 yards of crack on you, and you're like, oh, they're not gonna do it again. Oh, they did it again. They're not gonna do it again, and they did it again. Oh, damn, But you get those sometimes. I mean, so and we try to. And we try to keep people in the back, either one or two safeties back that, catch the ball when it runs. And if that guy can't make it, then it's hard.
How have you guys responded this week? Kind of like you would expect, or have they surprised you in any way since Saturday?
No, usually, after your first loss on any season, you get the guys where they're, you can coach them and tell them, hey, hey, we need to get better at this. Mm-hmm. And you won, and they're saying, well, we played pretty good. And sometimes some guys hear it. The guys who are more mature always hear the coaching, but some of the younger guys are like, yeah, okay, I got you, mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you might see the same mistake and you're like, but then when you show them, hey, here's a play that really hurt us because we did it wrong like this. This is something that showed up week 1, week 2. Okay. Then they go, okay, mm-hmm. Now I see it, and I saw that I gave up 35 yards on this run because I didn't fit something right. Okay, well then they're a little bit more in tune to it now, and a lot of times I know it sucks to say, but if you lose, sometimes you get your best opportunity to coach the guys, mm-hmm. and see how they respond to it.
Chris Kleiman said after the game that he didn't care at all about the yardage. He's just happy that they only gave up 26 points. How do you personally evaluate a stat sheet after the game?
I look at it like this. I'm a team guy, and if we scored 3 points, then we need to hold them to 2. I think to me, stats are something that we on defense at least look at the end of the year. You look at it and you say, okay, good, whatever. You're trying to look at, hey, listen, did the plan work? Well, yes, it did in these cases, and it did in these cases. Okay, why didn't it work in these cases? All that other stuff is for, really it's just a stat-driven world now. It's crazy because when you look at it, you'd say, listen, if we scored 32 points, everybody would be saying, well, we gave up some big plays, but hell, you guys beat them, and the defense did a good job holding them to 26. You give up 26 and you only score, I don't know what we scored on offense, actually. 13. Okay, well, we scored 13. Then everyone's saying, well, hell, you should have held them. No doubt, we should have held them to 10 then. And if we don't give up big plays, well, we got a chance to hold them to 10. So that's the kind of game. It's all about points for everybody, I think. If our special team scored 2 touchdowns in that game, you would have been saying, what a great game. What a great game. But it's a deal that's why it's the best team game in the world. It's all team driven.
1/3 of the way through the regular season, what have you liked and disliked about the play of the defense as a whole?
I think we're coming along with our effort. There's certain guys that from game 1 really embraced it, and it was really good. I think that the guys are continuing to grow on that. I think that we're playing really hard. I think that it's been in them for a long time, but the scrappiness of Coach Schneider and his staff instilled in them stays around, and you want to keep that going. So that's kind of fun to see. I think that we're progressing in the defense. I don't know, as we continue to look at it and we say, hey, here's some things that we could really get better at. We need to keep growing in that, and it might not be around until, really, when you really get into it, it might be 8 or 10 games that you're really starting to go, okay, now we're starting to truly understand what it is, because it's hard to mimic against our offense because our offense is different than the teams we play. It's hard to mimic against scouts because the speed is different, and the tempo of the game is different, and be able to see that and can the guys trust it when it's live. It's different when I'm tagging a guy or I just got to wrap him up. But when it's live and I got to actually take him around, am I going to trust my technique and all those things? And I think that we're coming that way. I think that the progression is good. We're not there yet. You'd love to mature really quickly, but I don't think you do. And I think it takes a really special team to mature really quickly. And I think that we're coming along. And there's guys that are doing that because we have some mature guys, but there's also guys who are normal. They're normal maturity guys. You know, they're going to learn as we go and keep getting better every week.
And just as a follow up to that, what have you liked and disliked about your position group specifically, and how tough it's maybe been when Cody hasn't played, and then you knew that Justin wasn't going to be available the whole season?
You know, I think that's a deal. I think Deuce has come along pretty well and played a lot of meaningful snaps for us. I think that's kept us fresh. I'm excited to get Cody, you know, back and all greased up. He's going to take a little while to knock off the rust, though. I mean, he's been, you know, standing in the boot for a long time. So it's a deal that, you know, we'd like to get a little bit more depth, and I'm glad we've stayed healthy through there, you know, and I think that those guys have played pretty hard, you know. Their fits aren't always right, but we're working on those things.